Hey, what up, everybody? It's your boy DJ Rizzle here on another episode of Canadians in Spain. Carmen and Elsa from Malaysia wanted me to share with you a little bit about my time interning with the La Cruz Roja España, as well as tell you a little bit about how funding works for NGOs here in Spain and back home in Canada. So let's get started. And yeah, so now we're entering back into La Plaza Cervantes and just kind of going to talk a little bit about funding of non-government organizations. So, when it comes to funding for non-government organizations, both in Canada and here in Spain, there are definitely a lot of similarities. For example, you're going to be having financial support from the government in both countries, whether it be from federal government, provincial, municipal governments. I don't know exactly if there are only like three levels of government here or not, but yeah, you could have funding from either one or two or all three levels of government in Canada, especially depending on which organization you are, how big you are, how well known you are, what kind of reputation that you have. And so yeah, depending on the budget and the economy of the country that year, you could have a lot of financial funding, you could have very little financial funding. Now, there definitely are some differences as well when it comes to funding of non-government organizations between Canada and Spain. For example, in Spain here, a certain percentage of the funding that the Red Cross, for example, will receive for their budget every year comes from the national lottery, which in Canada we don't have a national lottery that's run by the state or by the government, but here apparently they do. But it is one main source of funding, and the Red Cross does sell lottery tickets to people. Like, for example, in the program with the seniors, they're offered the chance to buy lottery tickets from the Red Cross volunteers. Another significant difference between Canada and Spain in terms of funding is what's called the European Social Fund. So the European Social Fund, from what I've learned, is basically it's its own entity, and it's not an employment agency, but it works with both the European Commission and any European countries who are member states of the European Social Fund. And so basically they work with these countries to establish certain priorities that they have for like a certain period of time, which I believe is about 7 years. And then so then they'll serve these priorities, and then they'll provide funding to these different countries, to different programs that these countries have that are in line with these priorities, which primarily are projects that are trying to create more jobs for people, or to help develop people's skills, whether they're training up people with skills that they don't have already, or helping people to further develop themselves professionally in their career, so as to help develop the labor force, and thus help the economy of the individual countries of the European Union. Now, we don't actually have anything like the European Social Fund in Canada, because we're not necessarily a part of a larger conglomerate of countries like the European Union is. And so there's one major difference that we have between our two countries in terms of funding of the NGOs. Another thing that can affect funding of NGOs is the economy, and if the country's in a recession or not. So I've been told that Spain has been in a recession for the past 5 years, but my supervisor also told me that it hasn't greatly affected the level of giving that La Cruz Roja has been experiencing over the past number of years since the economic crisis started. So in particular, among individual donors like you and I, apparently the level of donations has stayed pretty strong in that area in particular. So normally when I'm coming to work, this is usually the office that I come to. Out of this office, they have a number of different programs that they run, whether it be after-school programming for kids and teenagers, or they have computer labs for people that are looking for work, to be looking for work online, get help with their resumes, things of that nature. I'll also be going to workshops with a couple of volunteers to work with some of the seniors and let them know how to take care of themselves during a heat wave, or do some creative story exercises on helping them to maintain their memory skills and keep their self-esteem up to date there. Nothing that I've been doing is I go to a couple different kids programs, after school kids programs, a couple times a week just to help kids with their homework or work with them on their English. And also I'll go once a week to hand out food to people living on the streets that need food and just need some emotional support, some conversation with people, and just help them out in that regard, see how they're doing. In terms of skills that I've developed or acquired during my time here in Spain, I would definitely say the one I've developed is the use of the Spanish language on a daily basis. Even just getting better at understanding people during conversations, being able to speak to them a little more clearly, articulately, has been a work in progress, but something that I've made some developments in. Another one would be just the use of language and talking with people, so learning to use colloquial words like chulo and guay, and also just learning, like when I talk with seniors, for instance, you would think that you want to talk to them in a more formal sense, but I've been told that a lot of them like to be referred to in the tu form in a more informal manner, just because it helps them feel a little bit more younger, and so not so old. And maybe another skill that I'd say I've developed in is just to be able to take information from different data sheets and be able to input them into different databases that the Cruz Roja Española uses here on a daily basis for some of the different programs, like the employment program or their seniors program. For instance, if a lot of seniors will have like panic buttons around their neck, and so if they press it, then emergency services contact, and the Cruz Roja is notified of this, and so they'll call each of these seniors on the instant forums and check up on them just to see how they're doing. I think when it comes to the things that I've found the most surprising, the most challenging during this practicum, for starters, the things that have been the most surprising for me. One thing was visiting some of the homeless camps down by the river in Corredor de Henares, outside different towns in the area, and man, those people have impressive camps. Like, they have hauled in so much different types of furniture and constructed their own makeshift homes, and even have like little doors and doorbells on some of them. One guy even has like an exercise bike, rigged up to stir up electricity for his little shack. So that was a very big eye opener for me. Another thing was just how common alcohol use is out here. I went to one event with some seniors. They organized started organized like a year ago, and they were having wine like with their lunch, and I was thinking, and even like the volunteers were having wine, and I was thinking, this is not something that would happen in Canada. Volunteers would not be drinking wine, even if the guests or the people that were attending the event were. So that was definitely a bit of a surprise for me. I think the main thing that I just found challenging is the varying degree to which I find it's easy or difficult to be able to communicate with other people. I've noticed that with older people, usually they speak a lot more quietly, and then they have different words or stronger accents that they'll use, and so it's a little harder for me to understand them, where generally people my own age, I find that I have a bit of an easier time understanding, because I usually find that their accents aren't very thick. Everyone still speaks a little fast for me, but I find that people my age in particular are usually a little more clear in what they say. But yeah, so I think that's just been the main challenge for me throughout this practicum. I think when it comes to feedback from people I've been working with in the different programs I've been involved in, from my supervisor, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from people. There have definitely been times where I've been like a little quiet or a little timid about saying anything, because first time there, I didn't know what I was doing, or I was a little nervous about not being understood or not knowing what to say to people. So for meeting with my supervisor from time to time, he's told me that when he's talked with the other people I've worked with in the different programs, that he's received some really good positive feedback from there, that I'm actually participating and doing really well in what's expected of me and helping out with the different tasks. So, well, this has been another episode of Canadians in Spain. Hope you all enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Peace out.